My name is Ryan Nichols, and I work at the Institute for Women, Peace and Security in the Edmund A. Walsh School of Foreign Service at Georgetown University. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Ms. Paula Gaviria, the Director of the Special Administrative Unit for Victims Care and Reparations in Colombia. Her past and present work includes implementing public policy regarding victims of conflict in Colombia and organizing the inclusion of civil society actors and the creation of Colombian law regarding human rights. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you, Ryan, for inviting me.
So, my first question has to do with your work, your background, your passions, and your strategy for creating a more peaceful and secure future in Colombia.
Okay. My history is that I'm a lawyer, I'm a journalist, I'm a human rights activist. I have worked at the Constitutional Court, at the Ombudsman Office in Colombia, and in civil society, trying to make this law come to be sanctioned by the President and by the Congress. My passions are human rights. My passions are making people, it sounds simple, but making people happier with their lives, make Colombia a more just society, more equal, and where human rights are defended and a culture of human rights is there all the time.
And I'd like to ask you about how women have been involved in transitional justice institutions in Colombia, and what has their impact been as lawyers, as judges, as witnesses, and what has been the value of including women in these processes?
Victims, women victims from civil society, they were very active in the legislative process. There were a lot of legislative women, of Congress women that were active in the process also. And in the transitional justice process, we have people in the government that are working in human rights. We have many judges in the Justice and Peace Law. Many judges were there implementing the Justice and Peace Law. And now you have me in the government working in the unit. In my unit, we have most of people in my unit are women. We have 30 people that are directors of different regional projects and regional offices, and half of those people are women. We believe that women have a different approach towards suffering. We think that we have found ways to make people find their own path in order to feel compensated, to feel satisfied, and we are caring. Women have been active in this process, and the President has given us an important role in building up this public policy, the victims policy.
Very interesting. And speaking specifically about the unit, and that you have such a large number of women in the unit, how have you taken efforts to incorporate a gender perspective or gender sensitivity into the work that you do inside the unit and also the work that the unit does for the citizens of Colombia?
We have given out some instructions, some protocols, some directions inside the unit in order for every person that works in the unit to have a women's perspective, a gender perspective, in the moment, in the single moment that the victim enters the unit or is in touch with one of our collaborators. This means like a sensitive approach towards women perspective in the register, all the information systems, all the attention protocols, the caring protocols, and the reparation processes. All the psychological approach towards victims, all the orientation has to be women sensitive, and that's something that's like a cultural thing. We're starting to work on that, but we have accomplished a lot of good things. And we are also trying to make this happen in the rest of the government and of the other 47 institutions that are part of this public policy. There's a national public policy for equity. We are working on a new policy, for a specific policy for women's victims, that is going to come out in April. So there's like a basic good framework where we're trying to have a women's perspective and a gender perspective towards victims.
And given that you're implementing gender in the greater Colombian government, are there any pertinent lessons that you have learned through this process that you think would be meaningful to share with others, or that have provided good insights for you in order to be more effective in the work that you do?
Okay. One thing that's very important is that public policy and public policies regarding victims' rights have to be consulted with victims and have to be built with victims. This is something that you don't do for victims, you do with victims. That's our main principle. In order for this to be really meaningful for them. If you decide what's important for them from your desk, that's never going to be important for them. So you have to work out the policy and the way to make it happen for them with them. They have the answers, they have the paths to get there, and they have all the creative ideas to get there. So one lesson learned is to build up the policy and the implementation of processes with victims. This is made up with them and for them. The second thing is that it's very, very important to have to undertake psychological work with victims working for victims. I mean, the state can work through other social actors. Doesn't have to respond all by itself. You can give tools and strengthen social actors, women, NGOs, victims, and they can themselves be very useful for others, and they can make really a change for others when they have also been victims, for example. So that's another important lesson learned. The third lesson learned is that it's very important to build local capacity, to have institutions that are the ones responsible for undertaking the policy to do their job, not do their job for them. So it's just orientating them, guiding them, giving them special assistance, technical assistance, but leaving them do their job. It's not a policy that you do from the center of the country or from the national level, but you let the local agencies, the local municipalities do their job because they are also co-responsible. And the last one is that this type of ambitious projects like this that we are undertaking in Colombia, which is reparating and compensating all victims of conflict, it's a national project. It's not something that can only be done from the government or with the victims or by the victims. It has to be done by everyone, and everyone has to take it seriously. It has to be something that families discuss, it has to be something that's discussed in the schools, it's something that people discuss in the coffee shops where they go, it's something that the whole nation has to take into account and to take it seriously in order for this to never happen again in Colombia.
Very good lessons learned. And finally, one of the questions that we ask everybody that we interview is, as a Colombian, as a woman, as somebody involved in transitional justice efforts, how do you define the terms peace and security?
Okay. Peace is something that it's a process, but it's also a goal. It's something that you dream of achieving, but it's something that you build up. It's not something that one day you wake up and you have peace. It's something that you have to work on very hard. And it's something that deals with building trust. It's something that deals with dreaming together of a better future. It's something that you do with others. It's something that is not done by one person. It's something that is done by a lot of people. And that's one thing. I believe that's peace. And I believe that we're building peace in Colombia now. And that's it's very important for me to be part of that. I think we are now being part of we're making history in Colombia. And security, I think security is the definition of of integral security and human security, which is not only the absence of violence or the lack of violence or that there's not a war. I think security is the possibility of every human being in a society to feel part of that society, to feel part of the building of the future of that society, and to feel that they really have all their needs fulfilled, but that they are also like active actors of that community that is being built there.
Thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us. It's a pleasure and an honor, and we have very much to learn from you. So thank you again.
Thank you, Ryan, for inviting me.
And also thank you to you viewers for taking the time to spend with us. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about the Institute for Women, Peace and Security or the work of Ms. Gaviria, please visit our website at giwps.georgetown.edu. Thank you.